Good morning. I'm Ani Lodro. This is Karma Choying. We're from a monastery in Colorado. I've been a monastic about 30 years. Karma and I run our monastery in Crestone, Colorado, and we're very pleased to be here. We're very in love with Kansas City. So on that note, let's talk about love. Let's talk about self-love. In some teachers' view in Buddhism, awakening is the discovery of self-love. We in the West, in our human condition, as ordinary human people, are not brought up understanding or being encouraged to experience our own inner light. We're actually trained to hold it back, to be less than. The rhetoric of our culture is to be competitive, to win, to accumulate possessions and wealth. There's a strong ingrained self-interest or self-absorption that we're conditioned with as humans. And in Buddhist view, this accumulation of all the things that we pursue is driven by the egoic mind. Right? The mind that we all have is a personal mind. It views and experiences the stimulus in our outside world, and then it processes that stimulus. And then on top of the processing, on top of the labeling of this is a computer, this is a clock, this is a woman, this is a man, this is my friend, this is my enemy, within all that, there's a conceptualization. And that conceptualization is all about what I like and I don't like. And that conceptualization is how the mind drives our behavior. And I think a lot of us know that. A lot of us are on the path, have been on the path. We've heard about clinging and attachments. And this is kind of at the core of the spiritual journey, not just in Buddhist tradition, but actually in all traditions. If you look really at the underlying core of a lot of the practices, a lot of the spiritual journey, at the center of all that's going on around us and within us is this personal feeling of needing to pursue the things we like and needing to push away the things that we think are harmful for us or are dangerous or are going to harm those that we love. So there is in the mind this programming, and that pretty much drives our entire life. So most people will go through their life in the pursuit of happiness. That's really what we're trying to do as humans. We're trying to pursue happiness. We want to be happy. And the way the mind is telling us to do that, through thoughts, through conditioning really, through the history of all of our experiences, that there's been an accumulation of experience for all of us. And so we have come to some conclusions about our experience, what to stay away from and what to get. And the further impact is from those that are surrounding us, particularly when we're young and we're growing up. Our peers, our parents, our education, everybody's telling us what life is about and what to pursue. in Western culture, there's become a great imbalance regarding pursuit of happiness. And many of us, if not almost all of us in the West, are conditioned to believe that if we get a certain career, if we have a certain amount of wealth, that's going to give us a certain amount of safety. And this safety is going to make us happy. And then a lot of us pursue the right job, being a good mom, being a good dad, being a good person, going after all these things we're told we need. And at the end of it, we have all this stuff. And we're saying, okay, I have all these things. I've done what I was told to do. I've kind of achieved the American dream, whatever that is. And I still feel unfulfilled. So, spiritual journey, the Buddhist tradition, the Buddhist view, reverses all of that, turns all of that upside down. It says, what's the most important thing is to understand the nature of our mind first. One of the first things we start doing on the path. We have to understand how our mind works to be able to cut the root of the thoughts that arise that have such an impact on us, that are trying to get us to act a certain way, behave a certain way, make certain decisions. So what we're trying to do in the first part of the journey is look at our conduct, look at our behavior, understand why we're driven to do the things that we're doing, and then ask the question, do I need to really be listening to this mind that's giving me this conclusion about life and telling me how to live? Is this really accurate? Is it true? Science has done this research on people at the end of their lives. And they've asked, what have you realized? You know, what would you do differently? What are your regrets? And one of the top answers that people have said is the discovery of how meaningless a lot of their pursuits were. Because now that they're at the end of their life, they realize, none of this comes with me. I leave all this behind. What's important now? Am I ready for what comes after? Have I even contemplated it? Do I have any sense of where I'm going now? Do I have peace? Do I have love? Have I loved other people? Another one of the top answers was, I didn't tell people how much I loved them enough. In the West, in our culture, we have a lot of mental illness. I think that's pretty understood and pretty known by most of us. We hear it on the news all the time. We have a lot of self-therapeutic practices, a lot of self-help books are all over the place now. Lots are arisen because of the state of our collective consciousness. We are in such a state that depression, anxiety, stress, basic unhappiness, unfulfillment is extremely prevalent in us as a humanity, Western humanity. And it's happening in the East too, because the Western mind or the Western belief system has kind of infiltrated a lot of the East now. So it's happening all over the planet. And this condition of being in constant stress, constant tension, constant feeling like we have to measure up. We have to have this certain standard. We set this certain standard for ourselves. And the mind is kind of telling us very often, you know, we have a self-critical collective mind, which means we have a self-critical individualized mind. So the mind is taking a lot of energy and attention to tell us all the things that are wrong with us and everything else. And that is inaccurate. The mind is wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with anyone in this room, or on this planet, or in Kansas City. We are absolutely perfect. The recognition of that and why that is true can be thought of as the awakening. In traditional Buddhist journey or view, most Tibetans, we're Tibetan Buddhism, so we speak about more Tibetan Buddhist practice. In Tibet, people traditionally, not so much anymore, people traditionally had a very healthy mental egoic structure. They felt peace already in themselves. Their egoic structure was balanced. Ultimately, in the spiritual journey, your ego really falls away quite a bit. You have still an individualized sense of yourself, but this egoic drive of pursuit of happiness, craving and grasping and aversion, that really does fall away. But to even begin the Buddhist journey, right, or even any spiritual journey, you do want to start with kind of a healthy, balanced egoic structure where we have an individualized self, we're aware of that, and we have a sense of knowing, a deep knowing that we are loved, a deep self-respect, a deep love of ourselves. Not arrogance, it's not an arrogance, it's not a pride, it's just a deep knowing. We are part of something much bigger. We're incredibly loved. We love because we know we are loved. And we have a great capacity for loving other people, not as a sacrifice to ourselves, as more of a spilling over of how we feel inside, the joy we feel inside. And so in Tibetan Buddhism, the reason why we have what's called American Buddhism is because we're trying to get to that point of a healthy egoic structure so that we can enter upon the traditional path and do those advanced teachings, those advanced practices, which get us through this kind of what we call sometimes a doorway or a gateway of moving from an ordinary human being to an advanced spiritual being, where we become aware of not only ourselves, but everybody around us, our environment, our planetary consciousness, and then the universal consciousness and what's going on in the universe. There's a lot more going on than our five senses tell us. And in the process of awakening and moving towards enlightenment, we find out what that is. It's a fabulous, fabulous journey. The foundation of it is love, self-love, self-respect, self-acknowledgement, self-joy, the celebration that we have these human bodies and get to experience this life on earth. There's a deep, innate Buddhist nature in every single one of us, according to Buddha nature. And the awakening is discovering that and reconnecting with that. And then expanding into what some people call the higher self, expanded consciousness, awareness of what's really happening in our world, in our universe, and in ourselves. There's so much more we can talk about. We have a little bit of a limited time, so I'm going to end here. I just want to say, every single person I am looking at from here is, you are all beautiful souls. You are all awakened, beautiful souls already, and the journey is just discovering that that's already true. And I wish you many blessings and such an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting us.